There is a version of you that you pretend you don't know. A version that whispers your real desires at 2 a.m. A version that appears in your fantasies, your impulses, your cravings. A version that you spend your whole life trying to hide. But here's the truth. The thing you fear the most inside you is the key to your power. Most people run from their shadows. They bury their jealousy, their lust, their hunger for attention, their rage, their shame. They hide everything that doesn't make them look good, spiritual, or controlled. But what you don't face owns you. And what you finally face frees you. So today, we go into the dark. Into the part of you that holds the truth about your desire, your pain, and your destiny. This is shadow work at its rawest. This is the path that takes you from self-betrayal to self-mastery. From running to awakening. Because the piece of you you're scared to look at is the piece of you that's been trying to save you. Welcome to Shadow and Desire, facing what you fear in yourself. Let's go deeper. Before we go any further, you need to understand something. Your shadow is not the dark side of you. Your shadow is the hidden truth of you. It is everything you pushed away because someone once told you. Don't be angry. Don't be selfish. Don't be too emotional. Don't show weakness. Don't show desire. So you learn how to hide yourself. You put on a mask. You tried to be good, nice, perfect, strong, holy, controlled. But the parts you rejected didn't disappear. They went underground. Into the subconscious mind, where they live as the urges you can't explain. The fantasies that scare you. The insecurities that control you. The fears you pretend you've outgrown. The emotional triggers that explode out of nowhere. The desires you feel guilty for having. This is the shadow. Not evil. Not sinful. Not broken. Just exiled. And here's the twist most people never learn. What you repress becomes desire. What you ignore becomes obsession. What you deny becomes destiny. People think they're afraid of their darkness. But that's not the full truth. You're afraid of the power inside your darkness. Because your shadow holds your unexpressed confidence, your repressed creativity, your suppressed sexuality, your hidden fire, your original voice, your primal instincts, your real self. You fear it because it's powerful. You deny it because it's honest. You avoid it because it exposes who you really are. And nothing terrifies the human ego more than truth. You've been fighting yourself. You've been cutting pieces of yourself off and calling that self-control. You've been dimming yourself and calling that humility. You've been burying your desires and calling that discipline. You've been running from your emotions and calling that strength. But running from your shadow is running from your life. The chaos you feel inside. The emotional storms. The addictive habits. The self-sabotage. The cycles you can't break. These aren't random. They are messages. Your shadow communicates through patterns, cravings, breakdowns, strong attractions, intense repulsions, sudden reactions, silent emptiness, unexplained desire. Your life becomes your teacher when your mind refuses to listen. Desire is not the enemy. Desire is a compass. But when you suppress it, it becomes dangerous. Not because desire is bad, but because anything hidden becomes distorted. You can't heal what you're ashamed of. You can't integrate what you judge. You can't understand what you refuse to look at. That's why your desire scares you. Because it reveals your truth. And truth is the one thing the ego cannot control. The reason you attract certain types of people. The reason you repeat the same patterns in love. The reason you chase people who don't choose you. The reason you feel drawn to intensity, chaos, or emotional distance. It's not because you're unlucky. It's not because you're broken. It's because your shadow uses relationships as a mirror. You are attracted to the parts of yourself you don't own. You are triggered by the parts of yourself you deny. You fall in love with the parts of yourself you've lost. You fear the parts of yourself you've buried. Every connection is a reflection. Every desire is a lesson. Every heartbreak is a message. The moment you say, "I'm done pretending. I'm done hiding. I'm ready to see myself," your shadow changes. It stops acting out. It stops sabotaging you. It stops screaming for attention. Because all it ever wanted Was your honesty? Shadow work is not about fixing yourself. It's about meeting yourself. The real you. The raw you. The unfiltered you. The powerful you. The you that you've been afraid to admit exists. This chapter is the doorway. The moment where the mask starts to crack. The moment where truth begins to rise. The moment where desire becomes a path instead of a prison. The moment where you stop fighting your inner world and start listening to it. Because what you fear in yourself is exactly what will set you free. Before you judge your desires, before you shame them, before you try to silence them, ask yourself one question. Why do I want what I want? Because desire is not random. It is not a mistake. It is not a weakness. It is not a flaw. Desire is a messenger. And every desire in your life, even the ones you don't understand, even the ones that scare you, is trying to show you something about yourself. Most people never ask this question. They feel desire, then they react. They feel desire, then they chase. They feel desire, then they judge it. They feel desire, then they suppress it. But they never listen to it. That's why desire becomes dangerous. Not because it is dark, but because it is ignored. Every desire has a story behind it. A memory. A wound. A need. A fear. A fantasy. A piece of your identity you lost along the way. Desire is the subconscious mind speaking in a way the conscious mind can't ignore. When you feel a strong desire for someone. When you crave validation. When you want attention. When you want intensity. When you chase something unavailable. When you want something that doesn't make sense. Your shadow is talking. It's telling you. Look at me. Understand me. See what you've been avoiding. Face what you buried. People think desire is about the object. The person. The experience. The pleasure. But it's not. Desire is always about you. It's never about them. You're not obsessed with a person. You're obsessed with a part of yourself they awaken. Have you ever been pulled towards someone you knew wasn't good for you? Someone who felt like a magnet? Someone who activated your fear and desire at the same time? You weren't attracted to the person. You were attracted to the unresolved part of yourself they represented. You saw intensity because you buried your own intensity. You saw confidence because you lost your own confidence. You saw chaos because you deny the chaos inside you. You saw emotional coldness because you repress your own emotions. You saw sexual fire because you shut down your own desire long ago. This is why some people feel familiar. Even if you just met them, your subconscious recognizes them. Not as a soulmate, but as a mirror. A mirror for your shadow. A mirror for your wounds. A mirror for your unfinished stories. When you want someone unavailable, your shadow is saying, you're still chasing emotional distance because that's what you grew up with. When you crave validation online, your shadow is saying, you never felt seen. Now you seek it from strangers. When you desire wild intensity, your shadow is saying, you suppress your own fire. You want someone to ignite it for you. When you desire people who break you, your shadow is saying, you are still replaying childhood patterns. You mistake pain for love. Desire is never random. It is memory. It is identity. It is unfinished healing. It is the soul trying to get your attention through the body. When desire is unconscious, it becomes addictive. You keep wanting more. More attention. More intimacy. More chaos. More pleasure. More escape. You think you're hungry for another person, but you're actually hungry for something inside you. Something you lost. Something you never received. Something you were never allowed to feel. You're craving yourself. But because you can't access it internally, you chase it externally. This is why so many people get trapped in toxic cycles. They are trying to feed an inner hunger with outer experiences. You cannot heal an internal wound through external desire. It only leads to obsession, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. That's why shadow work is powerful. It gives you access to the original source of your desire. Not the surface craving. The root cause. Deep down, every desire is asking you to reclaim something. Strength you suppressed. Emotions you numbed. Freedom you lost. Boundaries you never learned. Love you never received. Self-worth you never built. Passion you shut down. Power you were taught to fear. When you listen to your desire consciously, something shifts. You stop reacting. You stop chasing. You stop collapsing. You stop losing yourself. Instead, you interpret. You observe. You understand. You take your power back. You learn the real meaning behind the feeling. And that is how desire becomes a tool instead of a trap. You are not afraid of your desire. You are afraid of the truth inside your desire. Because once you understand it, you can no longer pretend to be small. You can no longer pretend to be powerless. You can no longer pretend to be broken. You can no longer pretend that you don't know who you are. Desire reveals identity. Identity reveals destiny. And that is why the shadow is the most important teacher you will ever have. Shame is the first wound we inherit, and the last one we heal. Before you learned your name, before you learned right and wrong, before you learned how to speak, you learned how to hide. Not because you wanted to, but because someone taught you, directly or indirectly, that parts of you were too much, too loud, too emotional, too sensitive, too curious, too wild, too unacceptable. So you shrank. You dimmed. You obeyed. You learned silence. You learned fear. You learned to split yourself in half. One part became the version you showed the world, the good, disciplined, respectful, controlled you. The other part, the real you, went underground. This is where the shadow is born. Not from darkness, but from rejection. Not from evil, but from abandonment. Not from sin, but from shame. Every adult wound begins as a child's unanswered question. Am I still loved if I'm myself? When the answer feels like no, the child starts to remove pieces of themselves to survive emotionally. If I'm angry, I'm punished, so I'll hide anger. If I cry, they say I'm weak, so I'll hide sadness. If I express desire, they judge me, so I'll hide my sexuality. If I speak up, they reject me, so I'll hide my voice. If I want more, they shame me, so I'll hide my ambition. And piece by piece, you lose yourself. You learn to keep the acceptable parts in the light, and banish the rest into the shadow. But here's the truth no one teaches you. Shame doesn't protect you. Shame imprisons you. It stops you from trying. It stops you from speaking. It stops you from loving. It stops you from taking risks. It stops you from wanting what you want. It stops you from being who you are. Shame doesn't make you smaller, it makes you silent. Fear says, something could hurt me. Shame says, I am the thing that's wrong. Fear is about danger. Shame is about identity. Fear creates distance. Shame creates self-hatred. That's why shame is the deepest layer of the shadow. Because the shadow is not built from your darkness. It's built from your self-rejection. And you cannot face your shadow until you face the shame that created it. You may think you just have bad habits, or procrastination, or relationship issues, but these are symptoms of something deeper. Here are the quiet ways shame controls your life. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You shrink around confident people. You fear being seen, even if you want attention. You reject compliments. You sabotage relationships that feel good. You chase people who don't choose you. You feel guilty for resting. You struggle to say what you feel. You feel behind in life. You avoid mirrors. You fear success as much as failure. You feel like you're never enough. Shame is the invisible script running your entire life. You don't see it, but you feel it. Every single day. Here is the paradox. The qualities you hide in your shadow are the exact qualities you desperately need. If you hide your anger, you lose your boundaries. If you hide your sadness, you lose your depth. If you hide your desire, you lose your power. If you hide your vulnerability, you lose connection. If you hide your playfulness, you lose creativity. If you hide your voice, you lose direction. If you hide your instincts, you lose purpose. You are not broken. You are incomplete. And the missing pieces are locked behind shame. Shame makes you choose people who confirm your hidden beliefs. I'm not enough. I'm too much. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy. So you attract people who make you feel exactly that. Not because you are doomed, but because the subconscious mind seeks familiarity, not happiness. This is the root of toxic patterns. You replay the pain you never healed, hoping this time it will end differently. But shame always returns you to the same story. Until you finally stop running, and face the part of you that believes you deserve that pain in the first place. Something powerful happens when you finally meet your shame. It loses its teeth. It loses its voice. It loses its power. Because shame survives in the dark, but it dies in honesty. The moment you say, "Yes, I feel this. Yes, I want this. Yes, I'm afraid. Yes, I have wounds. Yes, I'm human," you take back everything shame stole from you. Shadow work isn't about exposing your darkness. It's about exposing your humanity, your realness, your truth, your desires, your hidden strength. This is how you begin to heal. Not by hiding the parts you fear, but by finally letting them breathe. There is a war happening inside you. A quiet war. A private war. A war you feel every time you want to change, and something inside you pulls you back. Every time you try to heal, and something sabotages you. Every time you feel desire, and something tells you you're wrong. Every time you want to speak your truth, and something shuts your voice down. This war is not between you and the world. It is not between you and your past. It is between your ego and your shadow. Two forces inside the same body. Two voices inside the same mind. Two identities fighting for control of your life. And until you understand this battle, you will repeat the same cycles forever. Your ego is not the villain. Your ego is the bodyguard of your identity. It is the part of you that says, "This is who I am. This is who I must be. This is what is safe." The ego defines your image, your beliefs, your patterns, your worldview. It guards your comfort zone, even when your comfort zone is killing you. The ego does not care about truth. The ego does not care about growth. The ego does not care about freedom. The ego cares about control. Its job? To keep you predictable, stable, familiar, safe. Even if that safety is misery. Even if that safety is loneliness. Even if that safety means abandoning your real self. That's why your ego panics when you get too close to the shadow. Because the shadow holds the truth, and truth threatens the ego's control. Your shadow is not the enemy either. The shadow is the part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be, what you felt before shame silenced you, what you desired before fear controlled you, the power you had before you hid it. The shadow holds your authenticity. Your ego holds your identity. And the battle is simple. Your ego fears change. Your shadow demands it. Your ego wants things to stay the same. Your shadow wants things to finally transform. Your ego wants control. Your shadow wants truth. This is why shadow work feels uncomfortable, not because your shadow is dangerous, but because the ego is terrified of losing power. Every time you try to express a buried emotion, the ego whispers, "Stop. People will judge you." Every time you face a hidden desire, the ego warns, "This will expose you." Every time you confront your past, the ego shouts, "You won't survive this pain." Every time you try to break a toxic pattern, the ego screams, "Go back. Stay where it's familiar." The ego creates resistance, procrastination, overthinking, anxiety, self-doubt, self-sabotage. Not because it hates you, but because it believes change is a threat. Your ego protects the life you've known. Your shadow protects the life you're meant to live. This inner battle reveals itself in subtle, everyday ways. 1. You feel intense emotion, and then numbness. Shadow rises. Ego shuts it down. 2. You make progress, then suddenly self-destruct. Shadow pushes forward. Ego pulls back. 3. You crave connection, but push people away. Shadow wants intimacy. Ego fears vulnerability. 4. You desire someone, then judge yourself for it. Shadow expresses truth. Ego applies shame. 5. You know what you need to do, but you can't. Shadow reveals direction. Ego blocks action. This is not weakness. This is psychology. This is survival. This is the human condition. Your ego was built from pain, from childhood wounds, from emotional memories, from every moment you felt unsafe, unseen, unprotected. So the ego created rules, beliefs, and defenses that helped you survive. But the same defenses that kept you safe now keep you stuck. The walls you built for protection became the walls of your prison. The ego says, "This is who I had to be." The shadow says, "This is who you really are." And every time the shadow rises, the ego feels like its existence is collapsing. That's why healing feels like dying. Because the ego is losing control. But this is not death. This is transformation. Most people try to kill their ego. That's not possible. And it's not healthy. The ego is necessary. You need identity. You need boundaries. You need structure. You need a sense of self. But what you don't need is an ego that operates from fear. The goal is not ego death. The goal is ego maturity. A mature ego does not fight the shadow. A mature ego collaborates with it. Your ego becomes the driver. Your shadow becomes the engine. Identity and authenticity work together. That is self-mastery. The war ends the moment you stop choosing sides. When you stop saying, "This part of me is good. This part of me is bad. This part of me is acceptable. This part of me must stay hidden." The war ends when you say, "All of this is me. All of this is human. All of this deserves to be understood." When you stop fighting yourself, your shadow stops fighting back. You become whole, aligned, integrated, awake. Because the real enemy was never the shadow or the ego. The real enemy was your belief that the two cannot coexist. There is a kind of attraction you can't explain. An attraction that feels like danger and destiny at the same time. An attraction that pulls you in even when your mind screams, "Stay away." You feel it in your chest, in your breath, in your stomach, in your skin. It's magnetic, irrational, intense. It's the pull toward the very thing that scares you. People think this attraction comes from weakness. No. It comes from memory. Your fear has roots. Your desire has a story. Your attraction has a blueprint. And the blueprint is written inside your shadow. This is the secret almost no one understands. You are never drawn to a person. You are drawn to the part of yourself they activate. Their confidence awakens your suppressed confidence. Their chaos triggers your hidden chaos. Their intensity mirrors your unexpressed intensity. Their emotional distance reflects the neglect you normalized. Their passion reminds you of the fire you buried. You don't want them, you want the part of you they symbolize. This is why the attraction feels spiritual, karmic, fated. Because it's not happening between two bodies, it's happening between two wounds. Your shadow recognizes itself in them. The reason you're drawn to people who frighten you is because they awaken a piece of your truth you've been avoiding. You fear them because they hold a mirror to the parts of yourself you've refused to see. You fear their intensity because you've been afraid of your own. You fear their passion because you buried yours long ago. You fear their darkness because you haven't faced your own. This is why the safest people often feel boring, because they don't activate your shadow. And the dangerous ones feel magnetic, because they awaken your unconscious. Your shadow isn't drawn to comfort. It's drawn to revelation. You've heard people say, "Why am I attracted to the same type of person again and again?" Because your shadow repeats what it remembers. Attachment wounds feel like home. Abandonment feels like home. Chaotic love feels like home. Unavailable hearts feel like home. Not because they are good for you, but because they are familiar. Your nervous system isn't seeking love. It's seeking what it understands. And what you understand is your old pain. This is why the wrong person feels like destiny, because your shadow believes that replaying the old wound will finally bring healing. You're not seeking a soulmate. You're seeking closure. When you desire someone deeply, you're not choosing them. Your shadow is choosing the part of you that carries old heartbreak, old fear, old abandonment, old passion, old fantasies, old versions of yourself. Your shadow sees in them an unfinished chapter. And until you heal that chapter, you will be drawn again and again to the same pattern wearing different faces. Because the subconscious mind seeks repetition until it finds resolution. The dark attraction is not a curse. It's a compass. It points toward the exact part of you that needs healing. The person who scares you reveals your buried desires. The person who triggers you reveals your deepest wounds. The person who excites you reveals your dormant energy. The person who confuses you reveals your emotional blind spots. The person who feels like a storm reveals the storm inside you. You don't fear them. You fear the truth they awaken in you. You don't break the pattern by avoiding people. You break the pattern by understanding yourself. Ask yourself, why do I feel this attraction? What part of me does this person awaken? What wound does this mirror? What am I truly seeking? What fear hides inside this desire? When you name the pattern, you break the spell. You stop mistaking trauma for chemistry. You stop confusing tension for passion. You stop calling chaos a soulmate. You stop chasing mirrors and start choosing partners. Desire becomes conscious. Fear becomes information. Attraction becomes insight. You become the one in control. You are not afraid of the person. You are afraid of who you become around them, because that version of you is the one you buried. The version that feels deeply. The version that wants fearlessly. The version that burns. The version that hungers. The version that refuses to be small. That version is your shadow. That version is your truth. That version is your real power. And the dark allure is nothing but a doorway to finally meeting yourself. You reach a point where something inside you breaks open, quietly, without applause, without anyone noticing. It's the moment when you finally stop running. The moment you understand that desire isn't your enemy. It was your teacher all along. And this is where your transformation begins. Because up to now, you've treated your desire like a curse. Like something shameful. Like something that makes you weak, sinful, undisciplined, or out of control. But here's the truth that most people never discover. Your desire becomes dangerous only when you avoid it. It becomes powerful the second you turn toward it. This is where you learn the alchemy of the shadow, the turning of raw human impulse into conscious, directed energy. This is where you learn the secret Jung hinted at again and again. The gold you seek is hidden in the place you least want to look. So you look. You stare into the thing you've feared inside yourself, the desire you tried to suppress. The fantasy you hated yourself for. The need you labeled as weakness. The craving you called immoral. And suddenly, something shocking happens. It doesn't consume you. It doesn't break you. It doesn't drag you into darkness. It softens. It changes shape. It tells you its name. For the first time in your life, desire stops being a fire that burns you, and becomes a fire that warms you. This is redemption. This is reclamation. This is what it means to integrate your shadow. You learn that desire was never meant to control you. It was meant to fuel you. Once you face it, something miraculous happens inside your psyche. Your anxiety dissolves, because you're no longer hiding from yourself. Your confidence rises, because nothing inside you is forbidden anymore. Your discipline strengthens, because your energy is no longer leaking into shame or secrecy. Your intuition deepens, because your inner world becomes clear and honest. This is why Jung called shadow integration the beginning of true power, because once you reclaim what you once feared, no one can use it against you. And neither can your own mind. As you face your inner desires, their wild, chaotic force begins to purify. The same energy that once pushed you toward distraction, lust, temptation, or impulsive choices, begins to point in a new direction. Not outward, not downward, but upward. The desire that once made you feel weak suddenly gives you focus, drive, creativity, spiritual power, inner clarity. Because desire, at its core, is simply life force. It's raw human electricity. It's the spark that moves your blood, your imagination, your ambition. And once you stop fighting it, it becomes a tool. You begin to understand something most people never realize. The opposite of desire is not purity. The opposite of desire is death. When you suppress your desire, you suppress your vitality. No wonder you felt numb. No wonder you felt empty. No wonder you felt like you were sleepwalking through your own life. You weren't broken, you were blocked. But now, the block is gone. As desire transforms, the shame you used to feel starts melting like ice under sunlight. You no longer punish yourself for being human. You no longer treat your natural impulses as sins. You no longer believe that wanting makes you weak. Instead, you see yourself clearly, without judgment, without masks. And this clarity gives birth to something rare. Self-respect that comes from truth, not performance. You respect yourself because you're no longer hiding from yourself. You respect yourself because you've walked into the darkest room in your psyche and lit a candle. You respect yourself because you've done the one thing most people will die without ever doing. You met your shadow, and you didn't run. As shame dissolves and desire transforms, a new version of you begins to awaken, steady, grounded, unshakable. You feel a strength that doesn't depend on discipline alone. A clarity that doesn't depend on motivation. A power that doesn't depend on external validation. This power comes from one thing: integration. When the dark and the light inside you stop fighting, you become whole. You become centered. You become sovereign. And wholeness is the ultimate form of freedom. Because when you face what you fear in yourself, you become someone nothing can intimidate, not even your own desire. This is the redemption of the shadow. This is the awakening of inner fire. This is where your life begins to change. There comes a moment in every human life where desire suddenly stops being just desire and becomes a message. A symbol. A mirror. A compass pointing toward a hidden truth inside you. A truth you were never taught to look for. Because society trained you to fear your desire. Religion trained you to suppress it. Family trained you to deny it. Culture trained you to hide it. And your own mind trained you to label it as something wrong. So you spend years, maybe your entire life, avoiding the very thing that was trying to guide you. But the truth is simple, uncomfortable, and liberating. Your darkest desires are not signs of corruption, they are signs of direction. They reveal the parts of you that want to grow. They reveal the parts of you that want to wake up. They reveal the parts of you that want to break free. They reveal the parts of you you're afraid to admit you need. Desire is a mirror. A forbidden mirror. And whatever you see inside it is who you're meant to become. Your desire doesn't just expose your temptation. It exposes your potential. Your shadow desires always point toward the confidence you haven't developed yet. The freedom you haven't claimed. The intimacy you're afraid to allow. The power you've refused to acknowledge. The life you secretly dream of but don't believe you deserve. This is why Jung said, "Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your desires quietly shape your destiny when you don't look at them. But once you face them consciously, something incredible happens. You stop following them blindly, and you start using them deliberately. This is the beginning of self-mastery. Think about this. Why do you fear certain desires so intensely? Why do some fantasies make your heart race? Why do some cravings feel dangerous? Why do some impulses feel forbidden? It's not because they're evil. It's because they touch a part of you that is powerful, a part you haven't integrated yet. Every desire you fear holds a hidden message. This is the part of you you're not ready to see. But once you do see it, the fear dissolves, the shame collapses, and the energy transforms. Suddenly, the thing you were running from becomes the thing that sets you free. What you want is a clue to who you really are. Let's break it down. Your sexual desires often reveal your need for connection, power, confidence, or vulnerability. Your cravings for validation reveal your desire to be seen, valued, or recognized. Your fantasies of escape reveal your need for freedom, purpose, or authenticity. Your hunger for intensity reveals your suppressed ambition, passion, or emotional depth. Your attraction to darkness reveals your desire for transformation, truth, or rebellion against the fake version of yourself. Every desire is a map. Every craving is information. Every impulse is a signal. Nothing inside you is random. Nothing inside you is meaningless. Nothing inside you is a mistake. Your psyche is always speaking, you just weren't taught how to listen. This is the part most people never realize. Your shadow desires are previews of the person you're meant to evolve into. If you crave intensity, you're meant to live passionately. If you crave freedom, you're meant to break old identities. If you crave connection, you're meant to open your heart. If you crave power, you're meant to rise in your life. If you crave transformation, you're meant to shed everything that isn't you. Desire is destiny disguised. And the darker the desire feels, the more important its message usually is. Because the shadow hides the parts of your life you've neglected the most. It teaches you where you're wounded. It teaches you where you're empty. It teaches you where you're lying to yourself. It teaches you where you're incomplete. It teaches you what you truly need in order to evolve. This is why facing your desires changes your life. Not because you indulge them. Not because you act them out. But because you decode them. Once you decode your desire, you reclaim the part of yourself that has been hiding inside it. And every time you reclaim a piece of yourself, you step closer to the life you were meant to live. Your desires are mirrors. Your fears are mirrors. Your fantasies are mirrors. Your impulses are mirrors. And if you dare to look into them, you will meet the future version of you staring back. A version who is courageous. A version who is whole. A version who is powerful. A version who no longer fears their own depths. A version who knows exactly where they are going. Because once you read the map written inside your shadow, you never walk through life blindly again. There is a moment, subtle, almost invisible, when you finally realize something that changes your entire relationship with yourself. Your life has never been random. Your desires have been guiding you all along. Every impulse, every attraction, every obsession, every forbidden craving. All of it has been pointing toward the person you are meant to become. But because you were taught to fear your shadow, you mistook guidance for danger. You mistook direction for temptation. You mistook destiny for sin. So you turned away from the very energy that was shaping your path. But here's the truth: your shadow doesn't push you off your path, it pushes you toward it. It just does it in a language you were never taught to understand. Desire, impulse, curiosity, longing, intensity. This is the language of your deeper self. This is how your unconscious communicates. This is how your future calls you forward. And when you finally learn to listen, you begin to notice something almost shocking. Your desires have been mapping your destiny since the beginning. Every major turning point in your life, good or bad, was triggered by desire. Think about it. The people you were drawn to. The careers that fascinated you. The risks you felt compelled to take. The mistakes you made out of impulse. The dreams that wouldn't leave you alone. The fantasies you felt guilty for having. You thought these were accidents. Coincidences. Weaknesses. Random impulses. But they were clues. Signals. Markers on a path only you could walk. Because desire is not something you choose, it's something that chooses you. It emerges from the deepest level of your psyche, carrying information about who you are and who you're meant to become. This is why suppressing desire always leads to confusion, numbness, or stagnation. When you mute desire, you mute destiny. Your unconscious mind is always 5 steps ahead of your conscious mind. Always. It senses patterns you can't see. It understands your wounds more deeply than you do. It knows your cravings before you can name them. It knows what you need before you're ready to admit it. And desire is how it sends messages. When you feel drawn to someone or something without knowing why, there is a why, you just haven't decoded it yet. When you fear a certain experience with unusual intensity, that fear is pointing toward a part of yourself you haven't developed. When a fantasy keeps repeating, it's because your psyche is trying to deliver a message you're refusing to hear. Your shadow is not working against you. It's preparing you. It knows what you're capable of. It knows the life you want. It knows the version of you you're trying to grow into. And desire is the magnet pulling you there. This is the uncomfortable part, but it's also the most important. When you ignore your desires for too long, they don't disappear. They twist. They tighten. They erupt in impulsive behavior. They turn into addiction, obsession, or emotional chaos. Not because the shadow is punishing you, but because it's trying to get your attention. Self-destruction is never the goal. It's a signal. A flare. A warning that something inside you needs to be acknowledged, urgently. When desire becomes destructive, it's a sign you're resisting your destiny. But the moment you turn and face it, the chaos stops, the obsession cools, the impulsiveness fades, and the energy becomes usable again. You reclaim your power, because you reclaim your direction. Most people think desire is about physical gratification. But that's only the surface layer, the hook. Underneath, desire always points towards something deeper, a life you want. A version of yourself you haven't stepped into. A wound that needs healing. A truth you're afraid to confront. A gift you haven't claimed. A future calling you forward. Your shadow doesn't tempt you. It informs you. It gives you the map, the fuel, the signal. It shows you what you're missing. It shows you what you're longing for. It shows you what you were created to embody. This is why your deepest desires feel both terrifying and irresistible. They're not just wants. They are destiny knocking on your door. You stand right now at a crossroads. To one side is the life you've already lived, predictable, familiar, safe. To the other is the life your shadow has been pushing you toward, powerful, authentic, expansive. And the key that unlocks that second life is desire. The desires you've been taught to fear. The desires you've been taught to hide. The desires you've been taught to feel ashamed of. Those desires contain the blueprint of your transformation. Not because you act them out blindly, but because you decode them. You understand them. You integrate them. You follow the message inside them. And once you do, your entire path begins to change. Your choices change. Your relationships change. Your confidence changes. Your purpose sharpens. Your destiny accelerates. Because now you're not walking blindly. You're walking with the guidance of the deepest part of yourself. There's a strange and haunting truth about human desire. You're often drawn the strongest to the very things that can wound you. The people who break you. The habits that drain you. The fantasies that scare you. The situations that destabilize you. The impulses you wish you didn't have. It's a magnetic pull, heavy, irrational, powerful, and it makes you feel weak, confused, or ashamed. But here's what no one ever tells you: you're not drawn to pain. You're drawn to the part of yourself that pain is trying to reveal. Every dark attraction, every dangerous craving, every forbidden impulse carries an encrypted message. A message your conscious mind can't decode. A message your shadow mind understands perfectly. A message that, once unlocked, becomes the doorway to your healing. Because the very thing you fear is the thing that will free you. Think about this. Why are you sometimes drawn to people who trigger your insecurities? Why do you feel intense chemistry with someone who isn't good for you? Why do you crave experiences that destabilize you? Why do you fantasize about things that scare you? It's not because you're broken. It's because there's something inside that attraction you haven't integrated. Jung explained it simply: what we desire in others is often what we've lost in ourselves. What we fear in others is what we suppress in ourselves. So when you meet someone who makes your heart race with danger and desire, you're not actually attracted to them. You're attracted to the part of you that they awaken, the part you've exiled, repressed, or forgotten. This is why the wrong person can feel like fate. This is why the dangerous choice can feel meaningful. This is why the forbidden desire feels so alive. You're not chasing pain. You're chasing wholeness. They show you everything you've been avoiding. Your hunger for intensity reveals how numb you've become. Your attraction to chaos reveals how much structure your soul is craving. Your pull toward unavailable people reveals your own emotional unavailability. Your desire for domination or submission reveals your broken relationship with power. Your lust for danger reveals your suppressed need for transformation. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is meaningless. Nothing is random. Your psyche is deliberate. Your shadow is intelligent. Your desires are purposeful. You're being shown what you need to heal. But because you don't recognize the message, you repeat the same painful patterns, thinking it's your type, your weakness, or your fate. It's not fate, it's unfinished inner work. Here's the truth most people miss. The shadow doesn't want you to suffer, it wants you to wake up. When you're drawn to something that can hurt you, it's a sign. You're standing in front of an unopened door inside yourself. You're being invited to confront a wound that still controls you. You're being shown a lesson you haven't yet mastered. This is why destructive patterns feel magnetic. They contain the unhealed parts of your story. And your psyche is trying to complete the story, trying to finish the chapter, trying to close the cycle, trying to help you evolve. But healing doesn't happen through repetition. Healing happens through awareness. Once you see the pattern loses its power. The same type of person will appear. The same temptation will return. The same impulses will rise. The same chaos will re-enter your life. Not because you're cursed. Not because you're weak. Not because you're attracted to toxicity. But because your psyche is repeating the experience, until you stop choosing it unconsciously. The moment you recognize the message behind the desire, something shifts. The intensity fades. The obsession loosens. The fantasy loses its grip. The attraction becomes transparent. Because now you're not hypnotized by the surface. You can finally see the lesson underneath. You break the pattern because you understand the pattern. Every dangerous desire contains a missing part of your strength. If you're drawn to intensity, you need to reclaim passion. If you're drawn to rebellion, you need to reclaim freedom. If you're drawn to chaos, you need to reclaim structure. If you're drawn to dominant people, you need to reclaim your voice. If you're drawn to submissive people, you need to reclaim responsibility. If you're drawn to the forbidden, you need to reclaim authenticity. You don't heal by rejecting the attraction. You heal by understanding it. You heal by reclaiming the part of yourself that the dark magnet is pointing toward. And once you reclaim that part, the attraction dissolves, the chaos evaporates, and the wound transforms into wisdom. You no longer chase what hurts you, because you've already integrated what it was trying to teach you. The dark magnet doesn't pull you into pain, it pulls you back into yourself. It brings you face to face with your forgotten power. It forces you to confront the parts of you that fear intimacy, truth, freedom, or authenticity. It breaks you open so you can rebuild yourself consciously. This is the real purpose of the shadow. Not destruction. Integration. Not punishment. Awakening. Not weakness. Wholeness. At some point in your life, maybe right now, you realize something powerful. You don't fear your desire because it is strong. You fear it because you've never been taught how to hold it. most people learn only two responses to desire. Suppress it, push it away, deny it, pretend it isn't there. Indulge it, follow it blindly until it destroys you. Both lead to suffering. Both lead to chaos. Both lead to a fractured sense of self. Because either approach integrates the shadow. Suppression creates shame. Indulgence creates addiction. But integration creates power. This chapter is where the transformation begins, because integration is not about killing your desire or obeying it. Integration is about meeting your desire as an equal. Seeing it. Understanding it. Decoding it. Then choosing your action consciously, not impulsively. This is the moment you stop being ruled by your shadow and begin leading your life with your whole self. There is a simple but profound ritual, one that psychologists, spiritual traditions, and even mystics all discovered in their own ways. A ritual that allows you to face your desire without losing yourself to it. A ritual that transforms raw energy into clarity and direction. A ritual with 3 stages. 1. Presence. 2. Naming. 3. Redirection. Let's go through each one. This is the step most people avoid, because it feels confrontational. Presence means you don't run from the desire. You don't drown in it. You don't judge it. You don't moralize it. You simply acknowledge it. You say to yourself, I'm feeling this. This is inside me. I see it clearly. I'm not afraid of it. The moment you become present with your desire, something incredible happens. The desire loses its power to overwhelm you. Because the shadow feeds on avoidance. When you look away, it grows stronger. When you face it, it begins to shrink. Presence is control. Presence is grounding. Presence is the beginning of self-mastery. Desire is never just desire. It's always a message. So once you're present with the feeling, you ask, what is this desire really pointing to? What emotion is beneath it? What need is it signaling? What part of me wants to be acknowledged? For example, a sexual desire may be pointing to loneliness, connection, or self-worth. A desire for chaos may be pointing to a lack of passion or purpose. A desire for intensity may be pointing to emotional numbness. A desire for domination may be pointing to unresolved power wounds. A desire for escape may be pointing to suffocation or burnout. Once you name the true message behind the desire, you strip it of its mystery. Desire becomes information, not temptation. This is the second step toward inner power. This is where integration becomes mastery. You take the raw energy behind the desire, the intensity, the fire, the hunger, and you channel it into something conscious. Not suppression. Not indulgence. Redirection. You ask, how can I use this energy to create, not destroy? What action fulfills the need behind this desire? What choice aligns with my higher self, not my shadow alone? Maybe you turn sexual desire into creativity, ambition, self-improvement, emotional introspection, physical discipline. Maybe you turn your desire for intensity into meaningful work, creative expression, passion projects, transformation, courageous decisions. Redirection is not about killing your desire. It's about harnessing the power inside it. And when you do this, you realize something life-changing. Desire isn't a force that controls you. It's a force that fuels you. When you can face your desire, name it, redirect it, you reach a level of self-mastery most people never experience. You become grounded. You become centered. You become emotionally intelligent. You become powerful. You become whole. Because the shadow is no longer a monster in the basement. It's a part of you you've invited into the living room. And once the shadow sits at the table with you, it stops sabotaging your life behind your back. Integration is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming unified. It's about ending the war within yourself. Here is the secret. You cannot destroy your shadow, but you can transform the relationship you have with it. And when you integrate your desire, it becomes guidance, not chaos. It becomes clarity, not confusion. It becomes power, not shame. It becomes purpose, not temptation. This is how warriors were formed. This is how mystics awakened. This is how leaders emerged. This is how artists created. This is how ordinary men and women became extraordinary. Not by rejecting their shadow, but by integrating it. You've walked through the darkness. You've stared into the desires you feared. You've faced the impulses you tried to hide. And now, if you've truly listened, you understand something profound. The shadow is not your enemy. Desire is not your weakness. What you fear most is often the key to who you are meant to become. Every attraction, every temptation, every obsession you've resisted was guiding you toward wholeness, toward power, toward the life you were born to live. You don't have to be afraid of yourself anymore. You don't have to chase illusions. You don't have to hide from your own fire. Because the moment you integrate your shadow, you don't just survive life, you command it. If this journey resonated with you, if you feel that fire stirring inside, don't stop here. Start observing your desires today. Journal the patterns you notice. Ask yourself what your shadow is trying to teach you. Take small steps to redirect that energy toward creation, growth, and mastery. And most importantly, embrace the parts of yourself you've been taught to fear. Because true power, freedom, and transformation live there. If you're ready to go deeper, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because your path to mastering desire and integrating your shadow has only just begun. Your journey doesn't end here, it begins now.